All right, we are recording now. So welcome to Wholistic Health Alliance Community Conversations. Today we have Camron Adibi presenting on how to grow indoor plants. Before I hand over to Cam, I will just say a few lines about Wholistic Health Alliance. We are a 501c3 nationally launched nonprofit. Our tagline says building healthy communities, and that is what we try to do by educating the people about what else is out there. In addition to the pills, of course, pills are always available. Mainstream medical system is available. That is the main healthcare system that one accesses for health and illness. But we, as a nonprofit, as a holistic platform, would like to educate and inform the community what else is available to them in simple measures for stress management, for better lifestyle choices, simple things about value of sleep, value of fresh food, whole food, etc., etc. So that ultimately becomes a very powerful way to shift the choices that one is making and not rush to the doctor or the pharmacy for every small little thing. And very one of the projects that's very close to my heart is the Youth Brigade project, where we are trying to develop youth health leaders, empowered youth who are invested and informed about their health. And all of that information is available on our website, www.holistic, spelled with a W,
Oops, I think she froze.
She did.
Sorry about that. Hello? Okay, back?
You're back.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Am I back?
Yeah.
All right. So this session is being recorded, and if you are listening and if you're a holistic practitioner, I highly encourage you to go to our website and join your fellow holistic practitioners in creating this unified platform where we are not coming from specific sections of the holistic fraternity, but we are trying to create one unified platform for all holistic practitioners to connect, to inform each other about what we do, how does it work, so that we can cross-refer, and also to educate the community. So go to our website to get more information and also join. If you're a holistic practitioner, we would highly encourage you to join. And if you have a youth, please encourage them to join the Youth Brigade. They are doing an amazing job. Youth Brigade has developed a wellness app recently, which will be launched very soon. And they have also launched a teen mental health initiative. So please go online and have your youth get involved and engaged. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Cam. Cam is an educator and has several holistic passions that he pursues. And I will let him talk a little bit about it before diving into the topic for today. His very brief bio is there on the event page and a little more detail on the website, but I think Cam will be able to introduce himself. And I apologize in advance, but I will be dropping off in 10 minutes because I have to teach. So with that, Cam, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Shah. Yeah, thank you, Isabel, for joining. And we're going to record this for all those who were not able to make it today so they can watch this later. Yeah, I'm Camron Adibi. This title of this webinar is Growing Indoor Plants, but really it's mostly about how to learn more about utilizing hydroponic systems. As Dr. Shah mentioned, I have two master's degrees. I have a master's in architecture, sustainable design from the School of Architecture. So I was doing a lot of work in engineering consulting, and I've had a lot of experiences retrofitting greenhouses and working with stormwater and wastewater. And then I also have a master's in education. So I've started this company combining these two passions, education and sustainability, and sustainable food production, which I'm gonna go ahead and share screen so you can get started here. And PowerPoint.
Also, Cam, you're a host now, okay?
Wait.
Just so you know.
Oh wait, thank you. All right, so yeah, this is growing indoor plants, and there's a nice photo. You know, I'm gonna have some questions for you. Basically, I'm gonna be as brief as I can. Maybe Isabel, if you can just write your questions down, we can have a chat afterwards. But about 30-minute presentation, and then plenty of time for questions. And I'm gonna show you some of the benefits, and and basically learn some of the benefits of plants, as I think you already know, Isabel, but some more specifically, and importance with mental health. This is a big topic, especially now with COVID, how we've been much more time indoors. Also, the basics of a hydroponic system, and how to grow plants, not just for harvest, but also for beauty and to create a system of diversity. And you can see my plant. This is a photo of my apartment. I had a Matilda hydrangea that I just got at the store. But you know, I think there's a lot to be said about the beauty and the senses of interacting with a system like this. About me real more, I already mentioned have dual master's degree. I started this business teaching everyone about whoever's interested about sustainable food growing and indoor plants. I'm definitely a hands-on learner. I learn by doing. I am not a plant expert. I'm more of a systems design engineering kind of person. So I do a lot of design and build kind of projects. But I love plants, and I'm a natural collaborator. I really believe we learn by sharing and learning from each other. So Isabel, I look forward to your questions. I had this good fortune of my first master's degree from Carnegie Mellon. I got to work in New York City for an engineering consulting firm, and they were involved in this project. It's called the Eden Project. It's in Cornwall, UK, and it's got a very interesting story. It was a clay mining pit, so the land was completely barren, completely devastated. You can kind of see in this picture the slope, and a couple visionaries created this, had this vision of creating this educational center where these giant biomes, indoor biomes, and there are different, like one's more arid, one's more humid, so they have different types of climates in each of these. And I wasn't part of the design or construction of this, but I got to visit this system, and to me it was like heaven. It was just like the power of what natural systems can do after we have left it for dead. There's a really amazing kind of restorative property when we allow things to happen. And that's kind of what this whole kind of concept is with this indoor hydroponic system, is how to watch something grow and restore and create new possibilities maybe you didn't even think about. One of the books I have at the end of this, I'm going to give you a resource list so you can have all these, so you don't worry about taking notes, and with a few books that I recommend. This one is an older book, The Secret Life of Plants by Peter Tompkins and Christopher Bird. It was published in 1973. It was recently updated. Very, very controversial for its time, and I think still to this day, but explores plants' response to human care and nurturing, their ability to communicate with man, plants' reaction to music, their line detection abilities. You need a good plant sometimes for that. and their creative powers. So it's really this kind of, and Michael Pollan also has some books about that, this symbiotic relationship humans have with plants. So I have this question. I'm going to ask you this question, and I want you like your input. I have another question for you first, but do plants have intelligence? I have one more question for you. What type of grower are you? And here are some selections. I already get it. You're not this one, Isabel, but the token plant. And confession, this is my apartment. This is, I'm a mixture of these types, but anyway, there's the token plant grower. There's the hobbyist, has kind of a little bit more creativity. And then there's the must coexist with plants, that I cannot live in a place without plants. So I had two questions. What type of grower are you, Isabel? And do you feel plants have intelligence?
So when you ask the question, what type of grower, do you mean what types of plants that I tend to grow, or?
Oh, like your category of style. Like you mentioned, like you've had plants for 20 years, but you do very little. So
Right.
you're not like redesigning your apartment to fit your plants, but your plants are not near death either. They're thriving, correct?
Yeah, I have about 15 of them throughout the top floor of where I live. And I think I was more into the designing and getting them on these special cords maybe 20 years ago when I first moved in.
Yeah.
And now it's just about watering every 2 weeks. But I've gotten into planting some outside now. And so that's become different. That feels a little bit different. And do plants have intelligence? Oh my God, absolutely yes. Because as a shamanic practitioner, we journey all the time to the trees, the plants, the animals. I mean, yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that there's a lot of intelligence there. And there's a spirit world there too, as far as I'm concerned.
I'm gonna have some questions for you at the end. Yeah, yeah, I can tell you have a fascinating background. Yeah, absolutely. I'm 100% with you. Yeah, these our roles with our interaction with plants changes. Yeah, I think I heard you say, maybe so you were. I appreciate that I don't have an outdoor space, which is another reason why I'm so fixated with indoor plants. But yeah, this is. I feel like you're kind of a mixture, hobbyist and the enthusiast. But good to hear some more about your experience with plants. So thank you for answering.
Yeah, and I'm very sensitive about it too. I have a neighbor who said to me the other day, oh, we need to cut some of the branches of your tree because the pollen is falling on my car. I'm like, wait a minute, you need to give me a better reason than that than to cut a tree. That feels awful. It's like right there. Yeah.
Totally, I can feel it. Right. I'm the same way. I'm very sensitive to this kind of stuff. But I can already. I think I already got. So here's the last slide. Oh, this is more of a kind of a personal. But again, one more question. Like, what do you feel like when you see a slide like this versus a slide like that? What's the difference? How would you describe that?
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of like the feeling that you have or I have going into a plant store versus going into a pharmacy. I feel like I'm being nourished. I feel that it feels soothing, and it doesn't feel like my energy is being zapped. It feels like I'm being fed in a way, and I get the opposite feeling when I walk into kind of a cold store, like the energy is going out the other way.
Excellent. I'm right with you. Thank you for sharing.
Sure.
I can totally visualize that when you express that. I have that same reaction. Yeah. So it's very like there's a instant reaction for us as humans. So real quickly, this is redundant for Isabel, but for others that might be watching this later, there's definitely data. This plants reduce stress levels. There's been studies. There's been a study recently, or not too long ago, where they had participants repot a houseplant or do a computer-based task. After the task, the researchers measured stress, including heart rate and blood pressure. The people that were doing the repotting the plant had a much lower blood pressure and heart rate than those that were asked to do a short computer task. It sharpens your attention. There's another study where researchers put students in a class with either a fake plant, a real one, or a photography of a plant like we just did, or no plant at all. And they did brain scans, and they showed that students who studied with real live plants were more attentive and better able to concentrate than students in other groups. And they help you recover from illness faster. This has been known for a while, but when a research, they looked at people that were recovering from surgery in hospitals, those who had access to greenery or could see greenery had shorter stays in the hospital. And boosts your immune system, improves air quality in your home. Air quality in your home. Like you already have some, Isabel, but I'm looking at a couple of taller plants, but like Boston ferns are great for air quality. A spider plant or a ficus tree are all great for improving your air quality. And I threw another one in here that gives you purpose. And again, back to the COVID, this is something very important to me. I live alone in an apartment. I wake up every day, when I have to attend to my plant and my hydroponic system. And every day there's something, it's a little different. So there's a little bit of excitement even to look at what happens throughout each day. So commercial hydroponics, it's a growing business. That's very high. It's become very high tech, but it still involves the same principles of water, nutrients, and light, and a growing medium. This one is a vertical one. You see a lot of these kind of the commercial hydroponic system, hydroponics market. In 2020, it was about $9.5 billion. It's projected to grow at like 11% per year, and expected to be as much as, the market's supposed to be as much as 17.9 billion by 2026. So there's a huge emphasis towards hydroponic growing and indoor growing. One of the reasons, unfortunately, is food security. 2018, an average estimated American, 1 in 9 Americans were food insecure, which basically the definition is for food insecurity is somebody who has a lack of consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. So it's a big problem, and unfortunately, it's been a growing problem. So there's a lot of different types of. I'm going to just give you a quick view of some kind of more simple home systems. This is a vertical hydroponic system. This is a one you can purchase, and it's a popular one. It's depending on which system you buy, it's around $650 to $1,000, and it has a lot of benefits. It's ready to go. It's like a turnkey system. It produces quickly. But with every system, you have to judge and weigh which option's best for you. That's the most thing. I think the two takeaways is really learning what fits well for you as a person, and secondly, that this is something you can do. This is not. It doesn't. There's a learning curve, but it's very doable, and you can do this. So, disadvantage with a system like this: there is a pump. They will break. You might have to replace it. pH could shift or change, and you'd have to, make sure you do, proper quality water testing. Could get smelly. Some of these do, depends on what you're growing and how they're growing, how much light. Could be algae growth in the reservoir. There's a reservoir on the bottom there, and you could get pests. So you have to be aware that there's no perfect system out there. This is a much more DIY, do-it-yourself system. A Tupperware container with a wicking system. That string there is a wick that goes into the reservoir. This you can see is more of the people in this photo are probably using this more outdoors, so they're using natural light. And Isabel, you had this question that Tupperware is not necessarily food grade. So you do it, you want, if you got to make sure you are comfortable with the materials you're using too, and that they are at their appropriate level. And some people are fine with this, but I would caution you and look for food grade materials, plastics, since we know that there are effects with some of these endocrine disruptors from plastics. But this is a simple system. You could build this probably in a day, and I would say you could probably do this under $50 and you'd be ready to go. This is a little more complicated system. So this is the fun part about being creative. That's the third thing I would say is like, allow yourself to dream and be creative. There's a ton of possibilities here. This one is using PVC tubes and buckets. It's more of a kind of raft system and a wick system combined. You can see the reservoir at the bottom there, and then the water is the bottom of if you look at the left slide, and then it's pumped back up to the top, so it just keeps recirculating through that system. And more, you can see it's more leafy greens. I don't see a light here, so I'm guessing this is probably supplemented with natural light, outdoor sunlight. So it's somewhere, looks like in somebody's backyard possibly, but they do have a tent over it, or a seal, so they can seal it at night, so it can hold heat at night, so it doesn't freeze. So there's ways to do this indoor and outdoors. So types of hydroponic systems, there's 6 basic types. This last one we just saw, this one was a nutrient film technique. We can see there's a solution at the base, and it's pumped up, and it's using a kind of gravity fed system to have the fluid go through the system. There's a deep water culture system. That's the one I'm going to focus on today. I'm really going to show you a system that I built, and I'm going to show you how to build it. And then there is the Wick system that I showed you. The first slide I showed you was a Wick system, or the one with a Tupperware, the blue Tupperware. And then there's an ebb and flow system, and then there's a drip system, and then there's a Aeroponic system, another one that's kind of commercially available. So again, we're going to focus on the deep water culture system. I'm going to tell you why and what's a good one to focus on if you're just starting out. Oops. And so this is an Aeroponics system, another commercial one you can find online. Very simple, great for herbs, and it's pretty affordable. And I think it's somewhere under $100, I believe, 50 to 100, somewhere around there. Last I've checked. And usually for herbs, great for like a kitchen garden, easy to maintain. Isabel, yeah.
Question about this. So is there any particular company that you recommend in terms of being eco-friendly? And because if you're growing herbs, that you're going to be ingesting it, is there a particular one you advocate for? Kind of?
I got a whole resource list at the end I'm going to give you.
Great.
But give you, at least get you started, because there's so many choices here.
Right.
But again, I want the big picture is to focus in on what, and it sounds like, Isabel, I'm guessing you're looking for more harvesting and food growing. So some people might be looking for might be interested more of a mixture. So we'll go over that. But yeah, I'll give you some pointers at the end.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure. And then this is a Wick system. It's another very simple one with, again, using sunlight. You can if you can see, it's just kind of a glass bottle that's suspended inside a glass. And if you can kind of see, there's a little tube going through the glass bottle. So it's very, but it does use a little bit of so it's kind of a hybrid almost, I would say, because it has some soil in that pot. But a great way to keep your plants sustained and low. If you have to leave for a while, this is a good way to keep them hydrated and watered if you're not going to be around. So this is like, I think, look at the scale from simple to complex and try to figure out where you might fit in that chronology or that scale. This is a ebb and flow system. I saw this on Etsy. So a lot of people, there's a lot of creative people out there that are offering these things. This one is, again, Tupperware containers. Again, I would say, I'd caution you, this is not food grade Tupperware, but it's a ebb flow system. So you can see there's a reservoir on the bottom, and then the water's pumped up to the top reservoir, and you can see those clay balls. That's a great way for media, simple media to use, and you'll see these a lot in hydroponic systems, these clay balls that allow for a lot of aeration and great for a great growing medium for hydroponics. I like this one. I found this one. So the ones I'm showing you, I haven't built myself, but I like the creativity on this one. It's using plastic bottles on this, and you can see it's kind of also a wick drip system. So there's a tube. You can see that green tube that's dripping, so it's dripping water down. Unfortunately, again, this is using plastic that I wouldn't necessarily encourage you, but in terms of design, I really like this. I like the idea. I like how this is set up and how they utilize space. That's another thing for me in my apartment. I have, limited amount of space. This is I think, a great way to look at maximizing space. So the vertical growing systems do have that kind of benefit. So today I'm going to go through this pretty quickly, but I will give you all the resources at the end. So I'm going to talk to you about a deep water culture system that I put together. Deep water culture systems are basically why I think the great ones for beginners is they're simple, they're inexpensive, they're low maintenance, they're fast growing, and what's really important to me is they promote biodiversity. And I'll show you at the end. Two systems that I built, so I have a background in ecological restoration and ecological engineering, and there's when you have tanks like this, you can actually invite some people go with the aquaponics route. I'm not promoting that, but you can put fish in these, you can put different organisms that then help the whole system support itself without much maintenance. So that's a really kind of neat concept, and I'll go over that more. So first things first, you got to start with what you want to grow. And how you're going to start. So this is a seed starter. So with any hydroponic system, you're going to have to figure out first what you want. Is it going to be leafy vegetable? It's going to be a cucumber, herbs, maybe even tomatoes, your choice. Or you're going to go for some flowers, or again, I'm going to encourage you, because this is my background. Or you're going to go maybe harvest something in the wild and transplant it back into your system. So there's a lot of these three options. I encourage it to look at all three. And then these are snow peas, by the way, and basil that I'm growing here. So this is in a rock wool. It's in a tray under, you can see the pink lights under LED light. So this is probably the most important topic, is what light to choose. And again, there are a lot of choices. Basically, when you look at a light, because there's a lot of marketing kind of ploys, but you really want to look at how basically what you're trying to do is mimic the sunlight, right? And so what you're looking at is the PAR, which is abbreviation for photosynthetically active radiation. So this is what the visible light, right? The wavelengths from 400 to basically 760 nanometers. This is a visible spectrum that we don't see these colors, we just see white, but this is what makes the spectrum. And we're looking for, when you're looking at a light source, you're looking at how wide is that spectrum that it offers. So some plants, like if you're just growing leafy greens, will do better than with some light sources, where if you're doing flowers, you might want a little different light. So let's see. So this is a LED lamp that I'm promoting. I have a link to it at the end here. It's you'll see a lot of, so LED lights are kind of, it's a booming market. There's a lot of choices. The advantage with LEDs is that they're energy efficient. They don't have much heat, which is, you know, important for a couple of reasons. But one is that you don't want to you know, generate too much heat on your plants, but also in your indoor environment. And also, and then if you're doing it, you know, in your home, you don't want to have a big energy input that might, you know, trip one of your fuses in your fuse box. So this is a, let's see, this is a LED broad spectrum light that, so this is, you can see, so whenever you look at a light, try to first see what its PAR value is. So that is the visible light spectrum. And this one has, so you'll often see in marketing that they'll offer full spectrum lights. There really is no such thing as a full spectrum light. There's basically a broad spectrum, or, you know, so a light that might have more of all what you're looking for. So this one definitely has somewhere around 400 to a spectrum of 400 to 700. Next thing you want to try to choose is your tanks. So there's two basic options for food safety. You can do an acrylic tank, which is what I went with. I've done both, or a glass tank, and I recommend both. It's really your choice. Acrylic is more durable, and you don't have to worry about, you know, shattering it. It's easier to drill holes in than glass. Glass is a little less expensive in general, believe it or not. I would think the reverse, but glass tanks you can find, you know, a 5-gallon glass tank, fish tank you can find for under $20 at a pet store. So this is the other component with a deep water system is, so you have a choice. I chose to do 2 tanks, or because there's a feature basically that I really enjoy, and that's the water feature. So I like the sound of water, but it's also the exchange of water in 2 tanks. You're basically, you can think of it, you're creating 2 different ecosystems or 2 different ecologies that are supporting each other. So I'm going to show you this, but I created a biofilter / air pump. So instead of using a pump, just a regular pump that pumps water like from, you know, submersible pump that pumps water up into the next tank, I'm using an air pump, which is basically just air being forced from high pressure to low pressure. And I'll show you so this is the kit that I bought. I mean, these are the supplies I bought to make this airlift / biofilter. And PVC pipe is not food safe, but I just wanted to show you because this is kind of a demonstration I wanted to show you. Plastics, very important. It's very, you know, we're still emerging science in this, but unsafe plastics, PVC, definitely anything with BPA and polystyrene are not safe for food grade. Safe plastics, you want to always look at the label. Usually always there's a stamp on somewhere on there. So the PET or PETE, the HDPE, the LDPE, or the PP or polypropylene are all considered safe for food or food grade plastics. It's hard to avoid plastics. We live in a plastic world. We're immersed in it right now. So it's really, I think, making good choices for yourself. So this is PVC. Again, I'm just going to show you this because it's not food safe, but I wanted to show you how the airlift pump works. So here I am cutting this PVC to the right length so I can have exchange water between 2 tanks. This is what you would want to buy if you want to look for something that is food safe. This is something you can buy online. Not too bad. $15 for a 10-foot roll of this large vinyl plastic tubing, and easy to use and cut. This is food safe silicone. You do need to kind of seal, make sure you don't have any leaks around your system. And if you're using a two tank system like that, you want to have a drain pipe from one system to the other, one tank to the other. This is these are tools you may already have. You could use a drill, but I have a Dremel, so I cut a hole. So you can see that the acrylic tank that I showed you earlier, I drilled a hole in one of them, so I'd have an overflow from the higher elevation tank to the lower elevation tank. So I'm using gravity to have the water flow down to the lower tank, and then the airlift system pump will then pumps the water back up to the high tank. This is a nice cordless drill that I have. So I'm drilling. There was a couple things that I had to drill. One was the tank, and the other one was the lid for the biofilter, and I'll show you that in a second. And then a drill bit to drill holes into this biofilter that I'm using to also for the airlift system. And this is just so there's pressure. Again, the concept is using moving water from high pressure to low pressure. So this is the whole kit here. So I have, and these are from local pet store. I got a pre-filter. So these are just little ceramic rings that I put in the food tray that I got. It's a BPA safe food tray. And then there's a sponge in the middle. And then you can see the hose, and that attaches to an air stone, which I forgot to put in this. Here's the air pump that attaches to this little black line. So this is, instead of using a pump, which I try to stay away with because they break and you have to replace them, and they also get clogged. This is a much better, easier system to maintain and more energy efficient. And it also has this dual role of being a biofilter and a airlift. So here's a system. I should have probably showed you this first. I just realized that now, but this is a 2-tank deep water culture system. So you can see one tank's higher than the other. There's an LED light, and I don't have any growing medium in this yet. I'm just getting it set up. But so the water is being drained, gravity fed down to the lower tank. And then you can see kind of the Tupperware at the bottom of the lower tank. That's the biofilter. And then there's an air stone right on the bottom of that PVC pipe. I'll show you a live image here in a second. And then that black line is connected to the air pump. So that water is being basically forced up that pipe, and you can just barely see it. The water's coming out at the end of that horizontal pipe. So the water is basically just recircling back and forth. This is just a way to have different kind of basically keep your system more stable, but also having water exchange and also aerating your water, which is important. So get back to the key ingredients for hydroponics is light, nutrients, oxygen, and a growing medium. So there's the water. That's just a slight, just a slight trickle of water coming out, but that sound feature too, again, back to the senses and the creativity, which I really encourage you to. That's something that I really wanted to have. I wanted to have some kind of sound that I could hear with that, as well as all the other benefits of using a low efficient, energy efficient kind of pump system, biofilter, and oxygen, creating more oxygen in the water. So here's the final component, is your growing medium. So I'm using these netted pots, 3-inch netted pots. And this is a food grade rubber mat that I got. So I cut out holes for the food, for the netted pots. And then I put those clay balls I told you about in earlier. And then I still need to fit that a little better, but then I put them and submerged them. So I'm going to have that bottom tank, I'm going to have flowers, in the top tank I'm going to have my snow peas and basil. So I'm doing a combination of flowers and growing. So this is a simple system. They both 5 gallon and the LED light. That was an affordable one I found for about $50. And Isabel, I'm going to give you in the chat right now the downloadable link. But before I get your questions, I want to show you what I'm talking about. And I probably should have done that right out of the get-go. I was just thinking about that now. So I have 2 systems. That was my first one. This is a 3-tank system, and I realize this is too big for most people. But you can see it's using gravity to for the higher tanks, and then this tank I do have a pump in the bottom tank pump, and you can see the hose here going up. But I learned that I have to clean that often, and it gets clogged more quickly. This is the new system that it's much smaller, and I wanted to make something that people will be maybe less intimidated with. This one I used, like I said, acrylic instead of glass, and you can see the water flowing there. So it's just a small trickle, and again, I'm going to change this over to food grade plastic. I just wanted to show you the concept of the air filter. So that's the filter down here, and so I can take that out and clean that. And so it's going to last much longer than that pump I showed you in that previous tank. And there's my starter kit. So I just have some, it's really taking off, the snow peas. And all right, you kind of see it, the snow peas and basil right now. And then I've got my wildflowers I'm going to start next. So it's a lot of fun. I really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So Isabel, thank you for paying attention. And
Sure.
I'm totally ready for you. Totally ready for any questions you have.
By the way, the chat was disabled. I don't know if you're going to try to put something in there. I'm not sure if that.
Let me give you the link so you can.
Okay, great.
But yeah, a lot of information. I think I went a little over. I wanted to. I apologize. I'm still.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I get a sense of both ends of this. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like, am I guessing right? You're looking for more for food production?
It doesn't, I mean, it could be, I was thinking about what you mentioned, the aeroponics for herbs.
Yeah.
And maybe, I think maybe just to get my confidence going, rather than build something, maybe get something that's kind of, a do it yourself, but put together already.
Yes.
Where I could just see something working and then maybe venture off a little bit more from that.
I totally, yeah. So yeah, there's the link there. Yeah. So
thank you. Okay.
This is
okay.
This is really giving people ideas for building their own system, but also helping people support whatever they choose. I'm really I wanted to sort of really curious to see where people's interests like yours are. Yeah, the Aero Garden is it's been around for a while. It's very I think if you there's a number of places you can get that, and it's my nephew has it. They really I love it. You do have to it gets you have to buy the nutrients. You always have to think, when you think about any system, you're going to have to think about nutrients. This is the thing about hydroponics, is we're adding nutrients. So that's the difference between like a soil system, right? Even soil, right? You have to add.
So my question then is, because I saw a few that mentioned these pods that have the nutrients.
Yeah.
So how do you distinguish, because when you buy organic versus conventional vegetables, there's an assumption there. So what is the assumption when you're buying these pods with nutrients?
Yeah, I think the nutrients. You'd have to definitely do some research. I think you'd. Um, so I definitely am selective about where I get my nutrients. Um, the nutrients would be place where they might not be organic, and the seeds too. And if you buy these kits, you're usually getting what they give you. I mean, you have different choices, I guess.
Right.
But yeah, the tower garden, the one that I showed you earlier, that one I find is expensive to get started. That one, and
Yeah.
it's
Said
more
like
of a commitment.
dollars
Yeah,
plus. Yeah.
yeah. So the I showed you what I shared with you was a 2 tank system.
Mhm.
You theoretically you could do a 1 tank system. So basically, you can think about what I showed you with this 1 tank and
Mhm.
1 grow light and and then just an aeration or just an air stone with an air pump. So
Mhm.
that could be even with the netted pots. But this one, the air for your purposes, yeah, like the Aero Garden, there's so many choices to choose from. They have but I'd say you can get a simple sprout for like $60 to like a harvest for like 120.
Mhm.
You'll get like what you'll probably get. So you get 6 plants out of that, and then you're gonna have to buy um, when that like after 3 months or so, um, you have to buy more nutrients. I think that's how it works.
Mhm.
So you have to get more. You have to. There's some like add-on things you have to buy,
Right. Right.
and
So the aeroponics, it's what's the difference between that and the deep water in terms of they both have water, or is the aeroponics not with water?
yeah. There's a reservoir, and there's a LED grow light.
Okay.
Um, they have choice. You have to go through their website and look at all the choices. If you just go to AeroGarden, you'll see, and they have tons of things on sale. They're always trying to but it's like I mentioned about grow lights. Um, there's certain grow lights that are good for certain things. Like there's like green leafy plants you might want a certain grow light versus a tomato plant or a cucumber. You'd have to look for a different. And also be careful when it says full spectrum. There's no such thing basically as full spectrum light. There's broad spectrum and there's specific light. So the light I chose is adjustable, so I can do different things with it.
Mm. Mm.
So that gives me more options. So the bad news with the air gardens, I see this over and over again. People get bored of them,
Really?
and they see them on the sidewalk.
Oh,
Yeah, and they get tired of having to buy um, you have to keep buying more of the plugs and the uh, nutrients to keep it. But it's all automated. I mean, this is for simple. It's all automated. The light turns on by itself. It has a lot of adjustable. They say it's non-GMO, but yeah, other than that, I couldn't tell you much because I haven't tried it myself. I should try it sometime. I haven't actually tried it though. I'm more interested in building my own systems. And
yeah. That's very cool. I love what you built.
yeah,
That's
it's like I have an interest like really helping families that are interested in like something that's affordable. But the other
Mhm.
advantage with the deep water culture system is you can add more to it. You can keep adding more to it, so you can make it as big as you want or as small as you want.
I could see that in a science classroom as well.
That's my background. I'm a
Yeah, there you
science
go.
teacher.
Yeah.
But yeah, you mentioned your work with plants. I really feel like that's another big reason for doing this is
Yeah, yeah. And many of the journeys that we take is mostly about trees right now
yeah,
and some shrubs, but mostly trees at this point. And so we're looking into, where these trees come from and some of the folklore associated with them and the medicinal properties, and what part of the trees do you focus on? Because in some medicines, it's just the buds, or it's the entire plant. So there are different aspects. What I grow in the house basically is poisonous because you can't eat any of these, but except for the herbs that we have. But yeah, it's kind of nice because this system that you're talking about sounds to me like it's doable. It's not too above the comfort zone. So I'm wondering, in terms of the flowers, are most people that are doing this indoor gardening mostly for food plants, or not so much for flowers, because you can do that outside?
Exactly. The thing about hydroponics, well, first of all, there's no secret here. There's the pot growers, that everywhere now. So
Right.
that's not my interest, but that's an amazing plant. That's to watch and grow.
Yeah.
But that's not my interest. I'm more interested in the kind of the biodiversity. It's more my background, and I have a few books. But yeah, the you mentioned you have an outdoor garden. This can be, also very good. An indoor system could be very supportive of your outdoors garden. You can grow. You can use it as a starter. You could also transplant things back into your garden. So it's a good kind of an exchange. I think that's another way to look at it. And there's one other thing I was going to say, but yeah, the flowers. You don't see that much. You don't see that very often. It's because it's more intensive. But you could probably make a business out of cut flowers. I don't know. I think there's a lot of possibilities here. But yeah, I did nasturtiums, which I really enjoyed, and I also did cucumbers, which they blossomed. I mean, I had so many blossoms. That was very fun to watch.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't done tomatoes, but tomatoes are very popular. That's just a different system.
Okay.
So I put it in that resource list. That if you did click on it, right? The resource list.
Yeah, I just copied it and put it into my notes so I can
Okay,
just
good.
get to
Yeah,
that. That's very helpful.
there's also T5. So LEDs really, like, I don't know how long ago they came on the market. I don't know. It seems like, well, the last 10 years they've taken off. LED lights, you can get them for your kitchen, everything now. You see them on car headlights. But before LEDs, there was more fluorescent lights, and there's
Right.
that's still a very popular light. And I put it on that resource list, the T5, a very affordable light that might be better for more flower production and flower group. So the LEDs, depending on what you're looking at, so that one, like the AeroGarden, it's at least the one that I was looking at is more for herbs. But if you're looking for flowers, you might want more of a T5, something that had even a broader spectrum. But again, the adjustable LED is the one I've been using because you can adjust the spectrum depending on whether you're in the bloom stage or the flowering stage or the full production stage. So it's helpful. I think it's nice to have that option. So I guess it's like follow your heart, which it seems like you do already. Be creative and just go for it. And just
I've never actually planted anything from the seed. I've always planted just a plant that's already sprouted. But the idea of starting from a seed is I like that. Yeah.
A lot of fun. And again, it's a great way to supplement your outdoor system so you can get them nice and hardy. And I think I showed you the rock wool, these plugs, very great way to start. You can get different sizes of plugs. You can actually kind of start with a smaller plug and then insert it to a bigger plug so it gets a little bit more robust until you feel like it's ready to go outside.
Very cool. Okay, I will do that.
And the final thing is, I do have fish in those bigger tanks, so I did go with a fish route. But the amazing part of this, and this is why I love this kind of stuff, is that I didn't put the fish in there. The fish came from some gravel
Really?
I got from a guy. I bought his tanks off Craigslist, and the eggs must have been in the gravel. So this is the fun part. And so now
Oh my
and I
God.
also went outside and harvested some other kind of species, and I put them in the tank. So now I have a really self-sustaining system with its like
Wow.
multi and some even, so it's really been fun to kind of, it changes. And, there are times I have to do water exchanges and change the water. So, be prepared. There is a maintenance, there is a learning curve. There's so many resources out there. Don't get intimidated. Please contact me if you have any questions, and I can even help you maybe, if you have questions about what you're looking to buy. And
Oh,
be happy to do
thank
that
you.
as well. And then also be careful too, that because there's so much commercial stuff. But this is really a small scale, home scale. I think is a completely different market than like all the commercial stuff. And you'll see that people have these giant tents and everything. I think it's gets a little over. Keep it simple, but keep it creative.
Yeah, one can get pulled in very easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do
it's.
you have any other questions I can help right
I'm
now?
good for now. Thank you. I'm going to look at the resource that you sent us and
All right.
see what other questions pop up.
Well, I'm really appreciative that I had you there. I was going to be talking to myself. So
That's a funny thing to do. Pam, thank you so much. This was really perfect.
I'm looking forward to your presentation. What day is it?
Oh, the 23rd of May.
May 23rd at what time?
Same time, 3 to 4.
All right, I'll put it on my calendar.
Thank you so much. This was very informative.
Thank you. Have a great day. Good to meet you.
You too. Nice to meet you, Cam. Bye-bye.